Well, hello everybody, and welcome to my third vlog. Today I want to talk about, of course, my therapy session, which was really scary. Because the last time I was there I had a panic attack, so that scared me a lot. Because going back to a place which you associate with a panic attack is, yeah, that's hard. It's really hard. I really didn't want to go, and all the way there on the bike, I didn't really want to go. And when I was waiting in the waiting room, I still was like, okay, maybe I can still run away, maybe I can still flee. But there were two things in my mind. Of course, one is I need to fix myself, so it's necessary for me to be there. And I would have felt really fucking stupid if I skipped a vlog because I was too scared. So that's kind of what motivated me to go anyways, so I'm happy that I did. So what we talked about mostly was again how we're gonna tackle the problem, because it's still there's still so many questions for me and for my therapist. What actually causes my panic attacks? Like, what's the real deal? What am I most scared of, and what are the things we need to work on? And so that was one of the things we spoke about a lot. Her suggestion, which actually really terrifies the fuck out of me, is exposure therapy, which means well, my panic attacks have two sources. I'm gonna tell you about the second one later, but the first one is of course the vomiting, the barfing. So yeah, that's the exposure therapy part. So what she wants to do is bring me to the places which are terrifying for me, and things like look up videos on YouTube of people actually barfing and like hearing them barf and blah blah blah, so she can kind of analyze what happens to me and what are the actual triggers and blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. So that's really scary. I don't really want to do that, but if she thinks it works, well, I mean, of course it works, because I don't know, she's a therapist and she's dealt with these kind of problems many times, so I do trust her in that. But it's scary, it's terrifying, of course. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. And somehow I forgot exactly how, because when I'm at therapy there's so much stuff happening and there's so much talking, so I don't quite know how we got to this topic. But that's the second part of my oh, I'm sorry, I'm really wobbling the camera. My second part of why I have panic attacks, like the cause, and that is probably my past. And I'm not gonna be all oh, I had a terrible childhood, blah blah blah, but there were a lot of things in my childhood which sucked, which there were a couple of things in my childhood that sucked, and I'm still working on those. Recently I'm working on them more than I did before, because yeah, things got kind of out of hand with the things from my past. I'm not gonna talk about it in detail, because it's too much to talk about on camera. Like my panic attacks, those are fine because those only involve me, and I'm okay to talk about me. But this involves other people as well, other important people, and I don't want to put them on display. So I'm not gonna talk about it in too much detail, but I still need to work on those. But basically what happened in that period of time is I kind of forced myself to not be able to feel stuff, like feelings, as much as a kid normally would, or a person for that matter normally would. So that's also like the panic attacks are that part of the panic attacks are probably that all the emotions and stress, it just builds up inside of me, and I don't let it out. So I don't get angry, I don't get sad, I don't get overly happy, that kind of stuff, and it all just builds up inside. And at certain points, I just explode, like they burst out, and that's also probably one of the causes of my panic attacks. So that's also something we need to work about. I need to learn how to feel like a real boy. Yeah. And I don't quite know how we're gonna tackle that problem. I think that's less of a priority, because the barfing is that's really the main source. So we're gonna tackle that problem later. But yeah, exposure therapy. It's scary, but I am gonna do it, of course. I don't think immediately. I don't think next week I'm gonna start with that, because it's all just new and I don't feel quite comfortable enough to do that yet. But it is gonna happen, and that scares me. But again, it's a necessary evil. So yeah, that's actually kind of what we talked about, because I explained. Yeah, well, so a therapy session is 45 minutes, and that's I think like half an hour I just talked about the other part of why I have why I have panic attacks. So that took a long time, so there's not really much to tell you guys, only that the exposure therapy, and there's also another cause for my panic attacks. That was the big revelation of this session. So please, because of course, don't be discouraged to go to therapy, because exposure therapy is a thing. They'll ease you into it. So it's not gonna be like next session I walk in and there's people vomiting in the room or something. They're gonna ease you into it, and so don't be scared. Oh yeah, and one more thing I had to do is I've got some sort of homework I need to write. So 2 things I need to write about is I need to take a moment in my life which was really emotional in either a good or a bad way, and I need to write about that. I need to write about how I felt and what happened and blah 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 and all the details. And same goes for a very terrifying moment in my life which involved puking. I need to write about that. I need to write about how I felt, what happened, blah blah blah. So those are my assignments, and we're gonna see what happens to me when I actually write those, because when you write something you're really into it with your mind, like you really just imagine the things, or at least I do. So that's gonna be sucky as well. That's therapy is actually not that fun, turns out, but it's necessary, and I'm still really motivated to do it. So don't be discouraged for the exposure therapy, because it helps. So they say. We're gonna find out. I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna tell you guys if it works. For me at least, because everybody is different. All the cases are different. So I'm gonna find out if it works for me. Yeah, I think that's it for today. Yeah, that's everything I needed to talk about. Yeah, that's it. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're still interested in following me through this process. I hope I keep it interesting enough. Like, I don't do the edits with my game videos, blah blah blah, because it's a serious topic. So I don't want to censor myself. I don't want to cut out important parts. Only the amazingly, surprisingly huge amount of ums and ands and so's. Only those kind of things I cut out, and not the other parts, because that's actually important. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye!